Hi everyone, this is Roman Zelenka and welcome to my podcast where we explore the wisdom of those around us. Hey guys, welcome to my podcast. Today I'm with Michael Anderson, one of the top business leadership experts in the world. He has a unique combination of business experience matched with in-depth educational background. He founded, scaled, and exited 3 software companies when he lived in California. Now he is in London. And Michael has a master's degree in psychology, and further he got education in neuroscience. And he's coming to organizations like Stanford University, Microsoft, Uber, or Salesforce. And Michael also has been named as a social entrepreneur of the year and was nominated for most admired CEO. So Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Roman.
So Michael, as a leadership expert who wrote the book Leading in the Next Normal, what made you to write such an interesting about such an interesting topic?
Yeah, well, it's a really difficult time for leaders now. A lot of leaders have went through more change in the last year than they have in the last maybe decade or 20 years. And you know, obviously we all know why that's taking place. And a lot of people, I realized that in my life, I've been through a couple different things that might be able to help other people out in their leadership journey where they're at right now. For example, I was a leader for a North American-based organization during 9/11. So I saw what that did, both to people and businesses when that happened and how you had to rebound. When I owned a business, software business, we got into a really nasty business lawsuit, which I learned a lot about myself. And again, the business for resilience and just staying positive through difficult times. And then, for example, when the Great Recession hit, which was very difficult in our industry, we were able to double in revenue and double in profits when it was, and even pick up an acquisition when it was a very difficult time for other companies. And I've also been working virtually for over 20 years. I actually worked in Europe for a US-based software company. And so I was talking to a couple people and they're like, we've never worked virtually before. And then I realized I've been working, I think some of us in technology have been working virtually for so long that there's a lot of things. And when I had at one point I owned 3 companies, we were all working virtually. So there's a lot. And for the people that don't know my background, I have a master's in psychology and a neuroscience certificate. And over the last bunch of years, companies like Uber, Microsoft, Salesforce have brought me in to work with their leaders. So I figured I'd take some of my leadership experience and really tailor something for what leaders are going through right now in this difficult time.
I see. And if you look back to this pandemic situation, do you see anything positive that it brought to us as leaders?
Well, I think it taught all of us that we can change. For example, the local recycling dump that my father-in-law said that when he went to the recycling place, you used to just drive up whenever you wanted. And he said after this pandemic hit, because they didn't want a bunch of people queuing up, he said they put in a scheduling system. And I just thought, if that recycling plant, because it's owned by the government, wanted to put a scheduling system in before this pandemic, and it was just normal, it would probably took them 2 years and $100,000 to look at all the different options and to evaluate it and to form a team and a committee. Now that they're forced to do it, they probably picked one within a week and had it up and running. So it's really showing. And for example, the medical community, for years, they've been saying, hey, we can do electronic visits. We can do them by phone. We can do them by Skype. We can do them by video. And part of it, some of the medical groups said, no, you absolutely can't. And all of a sudden now we're doing it and people like them better. The doctors like them better. The patients like them better. Sometimes and not for all situations, but sometimes you're getting better results because people are in their own home. You have to treat them a little differently, but it's just funny how we can change when we're really forced to change.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. And I see so many innovations and so many new companies starting with interesting tools about virtual conferencing and having online meetings. I use it myself a lot. So mm, you mentioned something very interesting, that uh, it it brought new ideas. I think it accelerated maybe the innovation process quite fast. And but we as leaders, we need to change our approach. Can you expand on that a little bit more, because this is what your book is about, right?
Yeah, and I tell leaders, if so, I live in the UK. I'm American, but I live in the UK, and we're in lockdown, and we're in a long lockdown. We've been locked down for 6 weeks, and we probably have 2 more months to go, and it's difficult. And I tell managers and leaders, you have to spend more time managing and leading right now. And between people being stuck at home, forced to work at home, and all the change, they need more of you. And what leaders need to do is they need to clear more time in their schedule to connect, to do one-on-ones with their teams, to really check in. I also say leadership is personal now. It's one I call principles, because to me, there's a healthy space to keep with you and your employees. Like you want to be friendly, but not necessarily friends, because when you hold them accountable, sometimes you have to have difficult conversations. And if you spend a lot of time, maybe your family's mixing things like that, it can be hard to really hold them accountable to the level and really challenge them sometimes. But those things do come up. But and so since this happened, I think it's really important for leaders to really know, especially the people that report to them, what's going on in their personal life. Do they have elderly parents at home that they care for? Are they, maybe they have a partner with COVID or something, or their kids, kids' well-being. Everybody's mental well-being is taking a hit right now with here in the UK. That I see it firsthand. I talk to my friends and relatives in the US. And so that means the leader really needs to be there, because work can really be a positive oasis for people. But we have to work to make it that. I mean, there's so much negativity and problems out there that some people want to escape into work, and in a healthy way. And we know we don't want to overwork them or anything like that. But there used to be this separation between home and work that there isn't anymore. And so we really have to work more on integrating it, especially if you worked in an office and you're telling people they have to work at home, or they're forced to work at home because you didn't plan for this. If you created I talked to a lady, she was in HR for a virtual only organization. They've been virtual only for the last 5 years. It really wasn't a big problem for them. Everybody has their own. You only go there when you have a workplace. You can work at home, and but some people don't have that luxury.
Yeah, I agree. And what I also like from your book, you mentioned that it's necessary to be strategic. And explicitly, you mentioned you can't sprint a marathon. And I, as a runner, I'm interested in hearing what you mean by that.
Yeah, I hear you, Roman. And the to me, the stages we went through was like a 3-stage process from business leaders, starting in March 2020, at least. In US and UK, that's I think when it started. And the first couple of weeks were like a street fight, because businesses, if they didn't make very sometimes harsh, very quick decisions, they were going to die. So it's you're in a street fight, you got to just fight for your life for a couple minutes. And if you can get through those couple minutes, then you're good. So there was probably a 3 to 6 week period where that happened, where all of a sudden everybody's in lockdown. If you're in a retail place, nobody could come there. We had cash flow issues. Do you lay off or furlough people? You had to make decisive decisions with very little information very quickly. And so that's what I mean by a street fight. And then it's like, okay, maybe we got a loan, maybe we checked our cash flow. We're going to be a good for the next year. So, we made any changes we had to make. And then it's like a sprint. And so that means we're going to pivot. Hey, if we're a restaurant, everybody knows restaurants. Instead of having people in, we're going to do takeaway. Well, what does that look like? We got to just pivot, or whatever your company's doing. You figured out what your really short-term tactical strategy is going to be for the next couple of months to stay in business, to keep people at work and everything else. And so people have been sprinting to execute on that pivot. But now, we thought it was going to be done in July, and now we're in February, and we don't know when it's going to end. And so people have been sprinting, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, we're 10K into this. This is not 100 meters, right? This is not till July. This is going on. And so people are burning out. I did a wide-ranging survey of the workplace, and people are so close to burning out, if not burning out. And if people burn out, that's a big problem for them. That's a big problem for your culture. That's a big problem for your team. That's a big problem for you. Because if a person truly burns out, has some sort of nervous breakdown, has to get, anti-anxiety meds, has to get sleeping medication, that's not an easy fix. That's a couple weeks or a couple months. They may be taking a couple weeks off. And what does that say to the rest of your team? What is that really brings morale down? Everybody starts questioning things. So as leaders, we really got to slow down, take a deep breath, quit piling stuff on people, and really take the pressure off. Otherwise, people are literally gonna collapse over from sprinting too long.
Absolutely. And do you have some specific tips how to prevent burnout of our teams?
Absolutely. The first thing is take a look at what your team's doing, because when stuff like this happens, a lot of bosses just want to give their team stuff to do because they're in a bit of a panic mode. Do this, do this, do this. It's time to quit doing a lot of stuff. You want to focus on what your core business is and understand where you're going to make money in the short and medium term, and get rid of all other projects. If something doesn't need to be done now, don't even worry about it. Just tell your people you want them working 6 to 8, maybe 7 to 8 hours maximum, maybe a little bit more, but no more 10, 12 hours, which is what a lot of people have been doing. Because they've given up their hobbies. They're working out of fear. They're feared they're going to lose their job. They're feared their company's going to go out of business. Let them know they can relax a little bit. Have people take their vacations. A lot of leaders say people aren't taking their vacations. Tell them to take 3 or 4 days. Don't answer email. Don't look at your phone or whatever it is like that. So help them do that and really focus on the positives. There's so much negatives out there. Be a leader that really celebrates moving towards a goal as a team. People want to be on a winning team. It's up to you to give it to them, and that'll make their work more fun, and that will give them a sense of going somewhere, of making progress. Which, like for me personally, is really difficult because it's like I have nothing to look forward to in my personal life. There's no holidays on the thing. The weekend comes, there's nowhere to go out to eat, and so if we relate that to business, if you have some sort of project that's a couple weeks, maybe a couple months that people can get behind, and maybe you have a bonus, maybe you have a virtual party, maybe you send everybody a steak that they can cook themselves or something to do something fun, they're really going to enjoy getting motivated around something like that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you, because today I had a client for coaching, and we discussed how specifically in their company, how they can celebrate some success. Because usually if you are in office in standard environment, you just open champagne and you celebrate, but it's really difficult to do this online. So do you have some specific experience from your career, how to do that?
I do, but what did you come up with? What did you and your client come up with?
I gave very specific advice because they are just starting with online communication. They have online coffee, so I recommended to have a little virtual party, drinking wine together and talk only about personal stuff and not the business. But I'm pretty sure there is much more. And so how to make a virtual party, with your team.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it depends on, for example, your culture. Because I've talked to people, and some of them do like a quiz night, so one night a week or one night every 2 or 3 weeks, they'll get together on Zoom and they'll do a quiz night, and that works for some. Others have tried it and it doesn't work. So don't get caught up into what you should do. Also, what you can do, so I'm answering a couple of different questions, is what can you do to keep the team together? These social gatherings, it's really great to put one of your employees or have an employee team in charge of this, because it takes the pressure off you, but then it also creates some purpose for somebody else. And so that, and you can rotate it. You can have everybody chooses something that's realistic every 2 weeks or something, and so that, get a lot of variety in there, get everybody involved in doing it, and that's your best chance at having as successful as you can. As far as like the celebration type things, they did something where they cooked breakfast together, and I think I heard 2 different ones. One is when they all cooked breakfast and just had it on Zoom together, and I think another one that they had a cook, and the cook would walk them through. They'd all go out and get the ingredients, and then the professional cook would have them create this really cool breakfast, and then they would all eat it together. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I did this one with an organization, and I should put their link in the show notes if anybody wants. I can dig that up for anybody listening. Where it was really well done, and they sent us this box, and then this box had a bunch of different packets in there, and they taught us about our taste buds. Like, for example, there was one sugar, and you taste it, and what's this? It's sugar. Okay, here's pure chocolate, and you taste chocolate, and it tastes horrible. And they're like, okay, now put chocolate and sugar together with just a pinch. And so we would do that. It's nice. And they put just a pinch of salt, and you could taste the difference. And so we learned about how your taste buds work. And we would do it like he would do it in a large group, and then we would get in a group, a moderated group of like 5 or 6. And then we would do it as very experiential. And it was really well done because you had something physical with you. My wife and I did it with a couple other couples. It was for the British Exploring Society. And there's a lot of creativity out there that really brings people together, and they're very fun and very connecting. So just open yourselves up to some of these things. I tell leaders out there, because there's really some creative things out there.
I like these ideas. And what about if we need to talk about some serious stuff? If we need to discuss our performance, so do you have some specific tips how to engage people? Because via Zoom it's quite complicated. So do you personally or some of your clients, do you use some other tools how to engage the team? I have experience with using Jamboard from Google. So we use some stickers and doing some notes there. But do you know some specific tips for tools like that?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to check that out. Is it Jamboard?
Jamboard, yeah.
Okay, by Google, I'll check that out. Because I've heard a couple of the technologies. I'm pretty old school. I stick with Excel and PowerPoint and things like that. And I know there's better ones. So I'll check, because I know, Roman, you're on the tip of these things sometimes. So I'm going to check out your suggestions. I always like them. Just some tips in general for getting people. Like, I did a 2-hour leadership mastermind yesterday, and everybody didn't know each other. And so I started off by we were going to do some intros about 10 or 15 minutes in, but with a 2-hour Zoom meeting, I want to get people talking, right, saying something right away. And so the first thing we did is I wanted everybody to say, it's called a one-word check-in. Hi, my name is blah, and I'm feeling duh. So, hi, my name is Michael. I'm excited. Hey, my name is Roman. I'm feeling a little scattered. I'm feeling, whatever. And it forces them to do a little bit. It forces them to be introspective for a little bit and just say something. Because when they say something and everybody else hears them, their attention is going to be on it. If I wait till 15 minutes in before I have people participate, their mind's going to be wandering. So when I get them, when I have them say at least 1 or 2 things. And and if they don't know each other, you don't have to do a word check-in. It could be, where are they calling from? You can do something funny. What'd you have for breakfast? What's your favorite superhero? Or just the fact psychologically of them saying something is going to change their energy, because they know that they're going to participate. And there's 1,000 others with virtual meetings. I see virtual meetings going on way too long. I tell people, look, shorten them up. There's no reason you can't have a 10-minute virtual meeting. If you schedule for half an hour, it's going to be half an hour. You can schedule for 10 minutes and say, or get through things and really, there's so much. I always start my virtual meetings on time, but I tell people beforehand 2 or 3 times, we're going to start on time. And I start on time, and if people come late, I just continue on, and then they know next time they normally all start on time. So, but it takes some discipline, and it takes some leadership, and it takes some putting your foot in the sand to really start doing that. But I find people really respond because they actually like that structure.
I see. Okay, I can maybe put a link to other tools that I use, like Mural and many others. I have another good question. What do we need to stop doing as leaders when we lead teams virtually?
That's a good one, Roman. What first comes to mind is we've got to stop micromanaging and worrying about how much time people are taking on tasks. Because When people are used to working in an office and then they have a virtual team, their first thought is, I don't know what they're doing all day. Well, you probably didn't know what they were doing all day either in the office, but that's beside the point because it's a conceptual thing. And I tell leaders, like, just focus on results. And what I mean by results is you're still there to support the team, but don't worry if they get their stuff done during the day or a little bit at night, or if they're spending 6 hours a day. As long as they're getting stuff done and they're showing up for meetings and they look healthy, that's what you really want to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for some managers because they're used to doing management by walking around, looking over people's shoulders, and you still should have check-ins, and you still should be doing things like that. But because people are working at home, it's like if you give them this sense of freedom, they're going to get things done. So just trust that they are putting in the effort. And if they're not consistently getting goals done, then you start to dig in. But what you don't want is somebody that's performing, and all of a sudden you're like, can you send me a list of everything you did today, every day, at the end of the day? No, I don't really want to do that. That sucks. Or even every week. And there's ways to keep track of what people are doing, because sometimes you need to, because you have a lot of moving parts, which is different than just checking in to making sure they're doing something. And that's a big shift that a lot of leaders take. And workers want you to do that. And they'll work harder if you do that and if you trust them and give them that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we also want to be effective here. So this is also a really short interview. But before we wrap up, could you maybe mention top 3 key takeaways for leaders in the next normal?
Yeah, empathy is coming in more than ever. And leaders should always be empathetic. And I mean, have compassion for people. And that doesn't mean be soft necessarily, but it's time to really understand what people are going through, because again, people are being thrust into so many different types of situations. For example, I was talking to this one lady. She is a country manager of Germany for an international training organization. She has a 10-month-old at home, 10-month-old kid, and her husband is in the house 2 weeks, and he's working outside of the house for 2 weeks straight. So he's not even home for 2 weeks. So she's trying to do her job with a 10-month-old baby around. And so, so the boss should know about that. And then when the husband's out of town, for example, they should take as much stuff off her plate as they can, really support her and have that empathy for her. And if they do that, she's going to be loyal to you forever as a leader. And the team is going to see what you're doing for her and be loyal to you. And if the team has something going on, if somebody's partner gets COVID or their kids get sick or something, you want them to tell you. You don't want them to hide it and try to do it. And then if you can have the conversation, and that's where true respect is earned, so that you're starting to have those conversations together, those open conversations, and then and then everybody can work together to get to the goals in a true team. And that's where great culture is created, through things like that. The second is you have to communicate authentically, yet always be optimistic and hopeful. And people are like, the leaders are like, well, I don't get it. How can I be optimistic when things suck? I'm like, yeah, I understand what you mean. And here's what I mean by that. Look, you can say stuff sucks, but you got to say, look, we're going to get through it. And they're going to connect to your energy. And if you get depressed or down, which you will if you're a leader in these times, don't address your team, because they're going to pick up on that that energy. And look, I have ups and downs, even, every freaking day I have ups and downs, but maybe every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm getting a place where I shouldn't really work with clients. Maybe whatever happens, personal stuff, I'm not feeling well, then I really shouldn't work with clients, because clients, come to me for my energy and things. And the same thing with you as a leader. If you are really feeling down and depressed and defeated, don't address your team, because they're going to pick up on that energy. You can be honest and vulnerable about that. You can say, hey, I got to move this. I'm just not in the right energy for it. What you can do is the next day you can say, hey, yesterday I wasn't feeling great. I was feeling a bit burnt out, so I took a couple of hours off, which is great, because then you give them permission to do that too. So it's almost not fair in a way, and there's a fine line, because you want to be authentic. You just got to. They just feed off that energy, and you do want that authenticity. So that's what I mean by the fine lines of being authentic and vulnerable, but doing it in a healthy way and showing up because as soon as you have a little bit of doubt in yourself or the team or the future of the company, that's going to proliferate, because that's the way it happens with the leaders. Was that 2 or 3?
It was 2. I'm looking forward to last one.
All right, last one. Last one. What do leaders need to do? Is give ourselves a break, man. It's like, wow, we are taking on so much responsibility. And especially the survey I did is especially senior leadership teams, because they were the worst hit. And I think the reason is because they're getting pressured downwards. It's like all the bosses or CEOs like, do this, do this, do this. And they really want to take care of their teams. So they're trying to shield their team from a lot of pressure. They're trying to do as much as they can themselves. And then their teams are like, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this. So it's like they're in a stress sandwich of getting it from the top and getting it from the bottom. And 3 out of every 4 senior leaders as of December last year were going through mental health issues, and 1 out of 4, it was serious. So if you have an 8-person senior leadership team out there, 2 of your people are probably really struggling and really just holding on for dear life. So it's really up to you to give them that space and be that leader and really get in touch with what they need. And also, as leaders ourselves, is to really give ourselves a bit of a break. It's okay for us to take time off. It's okay for us to take a couple hours off. It's okay for us to work a 4-hour freaking day every so often and go take a drive or take a walk or just freaking watch Netflix for a little while. Just don't feel it. You have to always be on. Be an inspiration by showing the self-care you want your team to do.
Definitely, I agree 100%. And because those people usually they come to me, and they ask me how to be resilient, how to find my lost balance, and this is for another interview. So let's focus on this maybe next time.
Roman, I want one from you. If you ask me for 3 from me, I want one for you. What's your message to leaders right now going through all this?
Message for leaders. Okay. I didn't expect that. Because you mentioned we need a strategy. I definitely empathy, being authentic. Maybe I can mention some tips how to be resilient and how some specific tips to find that work-life balance, because it's really difficult. I know in myself, if I work from home, there is no border between work and private life, and you are working sometimes 14, 16 hours. So I recommend to do breaks. You know Pomodoro technique?
Yes, yeah, I heard of it. I've never done it.
So I set alarm every half an hour. I do my workout. I do 50 push-ups. Sometimes I just go jump into frozen lake to restart my body and my nervous system. I'm doing a breath work, but every single hour I need to do something, at least 2 or 3 minutes to be in shape mentally and physically. So this is my secret tip.
Right on. I like it.
Okay, Michael, where can people find you, and how they can buy your new book?
Sure. It's on Amazon, so it's Leading in the Next Normal. Leading in the Next Normal. It's leadinginthenextnormal.com. Or my name is Michael Anderson, but I go by R. Michael Anderson, so you don't get confused with all the other Michael Andersons. There's a lot of Michael Andersons out there, so you can go to rmichaelanderson.com as well. And I'll tell you, if you get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the things, and if you send me a note, I'll make sure you have access to the. Or maybe we can even put the link up to the infographic with the 12 principles, Roman, for everybody.
Yeah, good idea. I will do that. Okay, so Michael, thanks for joining me today. It was very inspirational, and I hope we will have another opportunity to follow up and share more.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Roman.
Thank you. Bye-bye.